Hi, I am Vaibhav from TechRail, and today I am going to start on a new project which I am going to call Chamber. But before I make move on that, I am going to rewind a little bit and offer an apology to the people who started attending my last video series about learning Golang. Uh, I could not complete it because of multiple things happening in my real life. Uh, there were obligation towards my family, and then there was a wedding. I had to adjust to the increasing pressure from workplace. I basically moved between cities, and all of this took almost 4 months to settle down from the time I did my last video in that series. And after that, it almost didn't make a lot of sense for me to continue. So I am apologizing to all the people for not being able to continue. And this time I'm not in a typical job anymore, and my mind is much more free. So I do believe that I'll be able to do better this time at least. Uh, but looking back, I have decided that I'm not going to make any promises, and I'm going to put videos related to this project, to Chamber, wherever I can on YouTube. And I'll probably not be going live for this one. And that being said, uh, I would still be glad to have feedback and any questions related to the project as it progresses. So I have, obviously, as you can see, I have written a sort of introduction to what Chamber is. And of course, if you want the details of the project, this post is actually more or less like an origin story of how this project came into my mind, what it is and what it does. But just to save time, I will give you a primer. I will skim through this article and tell you what I think and how it comes to my mind that I should be building this, what it is. Uh, so you can obviously go through this entire article yourself. This is on webofficial.com slash chamber slash 01 dash introduction. You can see it here. I'll probably put this inside the link on description maybe. So okay, let me go through it. In short, basically, Chamber is a project that attempts to create uh, an encrypted cross-platform storage container. Uh, More like for creating a vault file, which would then keep your secrets. All right, and I want it, although it's not an immediate thing that I would be working towards. Eventually, I want uh, vault created using this software Chamber to be hostable on a remote platform, which is something that no other software of this league actually does. I want it to be mountable, which most of them do actually, and splittable, as in one single vault, which is say 20 GB in size, could be split into 10 chunks of 2 GB, something like that, or to that effect. So I've already created a roadmap, which is more or less pretty optimistic. I will be going through that later, or you can go through it yourself. Now, let me just go through quickly what Chamber is. So, Chamber is a software to lock files. More or less, a lot of us do have things that we would like to add extra security on, things that we don't want other people to be able to access to, even if they are actually using our computers. Let's say you have a laptop and you hand it over to your friend, and you don't want your friend to, let's say, look into your bank statement. You want to probably keep you know the file that you want to protect in some kind of a password protected folder, right? And that is what it is destined to do, and obviously there are solutions for that. Okay, so let's start with the name. Obviously, as I've written, I like Harry Potter, and when you think of secrets, because this will be a container to keep secrets, the term Chamber of Secrets comes quite naturally, more or less. So I couldn't name it Chamber of Secrets because that would probably infringe copyright or something. or land me in some other kind of trouble. I don't want all of that. So I'm just keeping the name to Chamber. Hopefully that should be good. I am not sure of all the legalities, but for now that's the name, Chamber. Um, so obviously, coming back to what it does, there are solutions that do this. There are already solutions that are native as well as third party uh, that can create a container file, a vault file, if you will, uh, that can then in turn contain your secret files, right? And usually they just are called file encryption software or something like that. So the three native solutions that you would get is BitLocker for Windows, Lux for Linux, and encrypted DMG files for macOS. Obviously, there is something called File Vault on macOS, which is a completely different thing, which is basically a file encryption system for hard disks or disk drives. BitLocker can do the same, so can Lux. But I am more interested in creating a vault file, not in encrypting, raw storage media. So from that viewpoint, if you look at these solutions, BitLocker, Lux, or encrypted DMG files, they are all non-cross platform, as much as non-cross platform it can be. I mean, encrypted DMG files can't even be opened on an iPhone or an iPad, because I mean, Apple says that it can. The ecosystem has got all the support for everything, but apparently not for this. um, you can't open a BitLocker encrypted drive on Mac OS or a Lux encrypted drive on Windows or Mac OS, and so it is for the encrypted DMG files as well. You can't open these on BitLocker. I'm sorry, on Windows or Linux. So this creates a problem. Like, I am right now using macOS, but I don't use macOS only all the time. I do have a Linux system. I do have Windows. My friends have Windows systems. Some of them also use Linux. So if I have some kind of a vault file which I created, inside which my secret stuff is actually contained, then I'll not be able to use it on any other system, and that is a problem for me. I mean, even if I have another system that I completely own, I'll not be able to use it. Now, if you go towards solutions that are cross-platform, you have a few like OpenSSL and GPG that work on Mac and Linux and Windows, and they have you know they have counterparts on different mobile OSs as well, right? Then there are things like GoCryptFS, which would do an encryption, one-on-one encryption per file, and all of them have a problem, more or less. Like OpenSSL and GPG, you would have to write good amount of scripts or some extra wrapper programs to actually make them useful to a level where you can say, okay, now it's easy for me to access all the files that I want to, all my secret files. GoCryptFS has a significant problem that if you just delete the main config file from a folder that GoCryptFS created, your entire vault or your encrypted files are now inaccessible, and it's so easy to do. So I don't like any of these solutions, right? And if you think from a vault perspective, like I said, which I want Chamber to be, a vault container or a vault creator and mounter, or anything else, any other term that you want to use for this. So Chamber file is what I'm going to call the resulting file, the vault that would be created when I'm talking about Chamber. And Chamber is the name of the software. So if you think of software that already exists, I think the top contender would be VeraCrypt. It is a super fine, amazing software if you know how to use it. And speaking of VeraCrypt, it is actually a little bit difficult to use because, I have to say and give kudos to the people who built it, because the defaults are good enough, the wizard is great, but there are too many steps and too many options where a newbie can actually mess up. I mean, I took VeraCrypt to a couple of people. Obviously, not a couple of people is not a big, sampling size to actually make any decision. But I do imagine that someone who doesn't understand nitty-gritties of encryption and file systems and operating systems will probably make some decisions where they would be, uh, but those decisions are going to be wrong, like creating a smaller vault file, or actually encrypting one of the plugged in USBs, or selecting a weaker encryption, or not having enough randomness, or creating a weak password, or trying to create a vault with a file system that is not compatible across multiple platforms, and so many other things that can go wrong, right? So I find there are three problems with VeraCrypt, and anything that is just as good. And I have to say one more time that if you are able to use VeraCrypt and it satisfies your requirement, I don't think you'll be interested in Chamber. I mean, this already is one of the best things that you can find. Okay, so VeraCrypt is actually difficult to set up. It requires a good understanding of cryptography and file systems. Like, most people don't even know what a file system is. They just know that they saved a file and it got saved. That's it. They don't understand how FAT is better or worse than exFAT. How what journaling file system is. What is APFS or NTFS. They don't know any of that, right? And this is the third one. It requires you to think ahead in time, and this is a problem with almost all of those the above ones that I mentioned, like BitLocker or Lux, or encrypted DMGs. You have to specify a size of the vault, and it's like if you want to, if you create a 2 GB a volume or a vault file which is 5 GB in size, right? And you can't put a 8 GB file into it now. If you want to put an 8 GB file in a vault, in an encrypted vault, you'll have to create another one and put it over there. So that's the problem. I can understand the restrictions why this was done, but I do not like this behavior. This is a problem in my head. The requirement to mount. Now, not every single system that you would use for encrypting files, for let's say even zip files can be encrypted, right? Zip or RAR files. They don't ask you to mount. But for anything worth its salt in this list, BitLocker, Lux, DMGs, VeraCrypt, or even GoCryptFS, they all want you to mount. And that is a problem in my head. I mean, from my perspective, when I say in my head, basically I think that it is a problem, right? Why is it a problem? So the first reason is you cannot use that file as a standard user. What I mean to say is, if you, let's say you created a vault file, you kept your secrets into it, and let's say you synced it onto a cloud storage like Google Drive or OneDrive or somewhere else, Dropbox maybe. Um, you take that file on another system, let's say your friend's system or internet cafe, and you download it. Now you can't use it because you have to be able to mount it, and mounting typically requires you to be an administrator. You can't mount as a standard user. So this is another point which I don't like, and actually it happened with me. I took encrypted DMG that I had to a friend's computer, and what happened was, although I was able to download a DMG, it was on Windows, and I realized that to open this file I'll probably need some software, and there were sites that promised that. And when I downloaded one of those software just for trial, I was supposed to be an admin, and I was not an admin on that computer. So it's a problem. The second thing is, if I take one of those vaults and I want to keep it on a server which is rented, let's say from AWS or Azure or DigitalOcean or Vultr or wherever, right? I can't keep it over there and access its content unless I mount it. And the moment I mount an encrypted drive, all the contents of that that drive, that vault, are accessible to any user that can access the vault. So now I'm not saying that all the VPS or any such service providers do have access to your mounted folders or volumes, but I don't trust them either. Like, I can't see what they're doing, right? So if there is any kind of a malicious actor, let's say a worm, a virus, or a supervising observer present on a system, then it means that this requirement to mount my vault is going to work against me. This is going to make everything vulnerable. So this is something that irks me. I don't like this. All right. And since we have talked about so much, there are some other problems that I found. So the first and foremost, splitting a file. If you have a vault file, which is, let's say, and this happened with me, I had a 20 GB encrypted DMG, and I had to store it into another system before an OS upgrade. So since it contained things that were valuable to me, and I didn't want it to be accessible easily, I thought, okay, let me move it. But I couldn't locate any usable drive more than, with more than 16 GB of space on it. How am I going to move it? So I had to obviously, create a zip of that encrypted file, then, split it and then take it up. So it's a headache, right? It should be possible for me to split my vault file. It is important for me, right? And doing so without any other third party tool. This is something I believe is going to be useful if you want to create large vaults and sync them to online storage. This comes in handy. I mean, there can be multiple restrictions, and there can be other places where there are size restrictions, and you can't upload files beyond a certain size, right? So this comes in handy. And yeah, obviously, syncing a large vault file, there can be a problem with some service provider, or let's say because of your plan being free or on a lower tier, where you're not supposed to create files, let's say, beyond 5 GB, and your vault file is, say, 20 GB. How are you going to sync it, right? After all, it's secrets, and it must be important to you, and that is why you want to password protect it. So this gives you an advantage that you can have your secrets encrypted and synced to cloud storage, and you can rest assured that whoever is the service provider for your cloud solution, whether it's Google, it's Microsoft, it's Dropbox, it's AWS, it's Backblaze, it's someone else, doesn't matter. It's a friend's FTP server, doesn't matter. You can take your vault file, keep it there, and nobody else will be able to read it. Okay. Hosting is a problem. Like I said, if I take my stuff and put it on a remote server that I have rented, I can't keep my backup drive on server and access this content easily, while also making that the service provider itself is not reading the vault file. Same thing that I have just said. And one thing is, I want to build a web interface, and none of the software that I have mentioned above allow you to access your secret files inside a vault with a web interface. So I want Chamber to be able to open any Chamber file and expose it on a web interface. Like that there has to be some way for a browser to access it. So if I expose Chamber, the software, with a web interface, I should be able to tell it to read a vault file and show its contents without the service provider where my vault file is kept to be able to access that same vault file without the password. Okay, and the fourth is mobile app. Again, none of them work with any mobile. They don't have an accompanying mobile app. So the feature set, I come to the things that I want in a perfect or utopian, encryption software or a storage container operator. I don't know, like, I don't have a real name for this because the use case is just to create vault files. So, okay, what do I want from Chamber? What do I want to make? I want it to be easy to use. I do not like having my keys around. Like, I don't want to carry my encryption keys around on something. I want to be able to download a vault file from my cloud storage on some random computer and be able to use it with a password. That's it. Easy to use. I want it to be cross-platform. So if I create a vault file on, say, Mac OS, I should be able to work on it on Windows, on Linux, and that should be possible without me having to mount. So I don't have to be a super user or an administrator or root or whatever you want to call that to be, able to access my secrets. So that if I am in an internet cafe, I should be able to just, you know uh, able to use the vault file. I should be able to download a software which can read that file and tell me what's in there. That's it. But uh, okay, I talked about mounting not required feature while focusing on my cursor on Canva. But yes, mounting your vault file as a folder or as a volume is the easiest way there is to interact with your files. So it should be possible for Chamber to mount a Chamber file into, some kind of a, accessible storage, right? Like a drive with a drive letter on Windows or on a path inside Mac OS or Linux or anywhere else that it's supposed to work. Auto resizable, as in if I create a vault file today, it should be containing what I need to store in there, and that's it. I shouldn't have to create a 50 GB vault file thinking that okay, I might need to store 50 GB data in there some other day. So I don't want to waste space inside the vault. I don't want to waste space outside the vault. I don't want to do any of that. I want the vault file to be auto resizable. You put in more data into the vault gets bigger. You take out some files, delete them permanently from inside vault, and the vault file shrinks. That's what I want. Splittable and joinable. This idea comes from actually VMware, and they allow you to actually split your disk files for your virtual machines into smaller chunks. And I would love to have that feature so that I can move my vault from one machine to another without having to back sweat. Okay, takes care of file system, and this is important when I say can mount. Okay, uh, I don't want the user of Chamber to worry about what kind of file system is in there. Okay, whether it's FAT or whether it's XFAT or is it XFS or uh, is it NTFS or APFS or what. I don't want the user to be bothered about that. So an average user does not, should not need to know what a file system is in order to use a Chamber file. Hostable, I already talked about it. I want it, my vault file, to be, kept on a server, install Chamber over there, and be able to access the secrets kept inside that file without letting the owner of that system, decrypt all the contents of that file. I guess that's making sense. Mobile accessible, I would love to someday, this is not at all a priority, someday have a accompanying mobile app that can actually open a vault file both from remote as well as something that's stored locally on your phone, whether it's iPhone or Android. Supports automation as well as GUI. This is important to me. For example, if I want to write a script to download the latest data down from my finance software and store it in a vault without having to do that manually, I would want that to happen. I mean, this I can use this automation capability to just do backups of some software, sorry, some secrets kept elsewhere on a rented server, right? Or maybe store uh, some kind of new logs that are coming from somewhere else into another vault. So it's important to me, and it has to support a GUI. I would love for anyone who cannot mount, is not a tech savvy user, to still be able to see their files and folders on a GUI. I don't know how I'll make the GUI, but I want to do it. I mean, this is just a set of requirements that I have for Chamber, the set of features that I want to build. So I've not thought this through. Supports changed. Um, all of the software that I mentioned above, VeraCrypt and uh, even I guess GoCryptFS or OpenCell, GPG, BitLocker, Lux, they don't support change. Once you have decided on your password, once you have decided on the encryption mechanism, you cannot regenerate the actual encryption keys used to actually you know encrypt your files. I'm not sure about Lux, maybe it allows. I'm not sure about it, but yeah, most of them don't. And let's say I introduce a new, better encryption mechanism, and or let's say I introduce a new capability wherein you can use your keys to actually mount, encrypt or decrypt your contents. Then Chamber should be able to actually support, upgrading your vault from one mechanism to another, or support changing the encryption keys without you having to do the manual work of creating a new vault and then copy pasting everything all over. I would love for it to support such changes in the underlying mechanism of encryption, and that's one thing I really want to facilitate in the long run. But this is not something that I want to encrypt from the day one. Sorry, incorporate in the in Chamber from day one. Fault tolerance and verification, basically it comes down to this: if one needs to choose between fast or reliable, the software must stay reliable. There are multiple things. For example, changing encryption keys. This is going to be a long running, operation. And during that operation, if there is a power failure, or you just unplugged your laptop or shut it down, something went wrong, you unplugged your hard disk where you have your vault located, and the process of this long running process of, let's say, changing your encryption keys or copying large set of files out, in, or within the uh, vault is ongoing, and you just disconnect, your vault should not get corrupted. This is something I am striving for, but again, this is not the priority in the beginning. Also, this because I want to support it someday on mobile. I would love for it to be able to work with minimal resources. All right. So that is the set of features I want. But that is not all, right? So in this video itself, I am going to say a little bit more. Obviously, this is the list of expectation and tentative timelines. But I'm an engineer, and engineers make very optimistic timelines, expecting they will be able to pull off all of this and more in the given time. But we usually fall short of it. So this is not rigid, but this is how I want to go. Okay. Uh, at this point, I would say, or would like to repeat, that I'm not going to promise any regular video drops in this project. I have also not yet decided about the project's license, whether or not it will be open or dual license or closed or something like that. Till that time, I'll keep the project on my computer and maybe backed up to another external drive or something. Uh, I can promise though that I'll try to keep the source open, and since this tool is supposed to give you a secure container kind of you know uh, mechanism to encrypt and keep your files safe, I think open source is the way to go. And most probably there will be some license which is open source, one of the open source licenses, most probably. um, I'm not comfortable with GitHub for this project, and the reason is I do not like my code to be analyzed for creating LLMs without an explicit consent, which is something I'm sure most code hosting solutions are doing. It's not that I'm creating the world's best project and someone will steal it. I want to make it open anyway, but I do not like this, reading everything you wrote, you created with your, you know, hard work, passion, and putting your soul into it, and someone just uses this for creating stuff that they want to make profits from. This is fundamentally wrong. I believe this is wrong, and so I'm not very okay with GitHub for this project at least. And till the time I make the decision on where I want to keep my project, I'll probably just keep releasing source code in form of zip files or something on this site. Or, I don't know. Like, I have not decided on this, but yes, I will keep the source open. Um, mm, let's talk about where I want to build this project. I want to build this project in Goland. This is my IDE of choice for Go projects. But this is not the only thing that I use. I sometimes also use NeoVim. Okay, this is okay. Yeah. So I'll create and say nvim dot and this is lazyvim, yes, and I would probably use at times I'm going to use NeoVim, at times I'm going to use Goland to get this get working on the project. There are certain things that NeoVim excels at. Basically, certain workflows that I'm used to that I require, and certain customizations that I would love to do that are really hard to get done in Goland. But obviously, Goland is really well done, and it allows you to debug and refactor much more easily. So yeah, I'm gonna use both. Coming back to the the coding environment, I'm not a NeoVim expert, so I'm not going to do a NeoVim setup kind of video anywhere in this. I'm going to use lazyvim as I showed, and that's it. There are some custom key bindings on top of it, some functions that I have written that I am used to. I'll show that in case someone asks, but they're not big. One thing that I want to also make clear is that I will not be using these two, AI or AI chat. I do not like AI integrations in my IDE, and I'm sure that some of you will say, why don't you use Cursor or GitHub Copilot or Windsurf? And I have to state clearly that I have tried some models with JetBrains editor, basically Goland itself, back when I was still in the job, and I sincerely hated it. I used it for almost 4 hours. I used 3-4 different models. I think there was one from Claude, GitHub's own. I don't remember which all I used, but I used some of those. I think GPT was there, and I did not like the experience. Basically, they suggest code that is either faulty, outright faulty, right on the picking the structure of a struct, the fields. They suggest me fields that are not there. They suggested me functions doing something dramatically different from what I needed. They're good with tests, but that's it. I mean, I don't think that they're good enough for anything sensible. And for the 4 hours that I used those LLMs right in my editor, I felt like I lost at least 5 to 8 years worth of my engineering experience. It's like my brain went numb. I lost my decision making power, I lost my analytical power, and maybe LLMs allow you to move fast, break things. I don't want to break things, first of all, and I do not want to vibe code this thing. I want to do engineering the way I like it. I'm an oldie, and I would like to code it using my own hands, my own mind. That being said, I'm going to use some LLMs to ask them some questions, get an answer faster than, let's say, if I asked Google and went through 20 blog posts and 10 different Stack Overflow answers. So I'm going to use LLMs, but not in my ID. That's something I'm very much clear about. Okay, now what would I do to be in touch? Like, I don't know who is going to try to be engaged with this project or not, and whether or not you wanna come back and ask me questions why I did certain things that I did. I'll try to make posts about those, but anyway, I'm sure there will be some questions for those who watch. And I guess first and foremost, if I'm going to upload it on YouTube, I'll not be closing the YouTube comments most probably, and obviously one of questions, great, you can just go and comment on YouTube, ask me a question. But if you want to stay in touch, there is this Discord server, TechRails Discord server. Okay, you can post in general. and you can post in the chamber, and yeah, you can ask some questions over here related to the project. I guess that should be good enough. You can also email me. If you go to the contact page I have, you have my email, you have my Telegram, you have also mentioned TechRail Discord server. You have my GitHub, you have my LinkedIn. I think that is way more than enough for anything. If you want to be involved on Reddit, we on TechRail do have a Reddit sub, so you can go there and maybe make a post or ask a question. It's nearly empty, but yeah, it's there. And I would like to emphasize on this. I am not on Facebook, on Instagram. If you got someone over there, you probably got the wrong guy. I'm not that guy. Uh, if you got me on Twitter or Quora and you message me, I'm probably not going to respond. I don't use those a lot. I mean, I open Twitter sometimes, but I don't post or respond over there. I am not on any other platform, I guess. But I mean, you can see, right? I don't even know where all I am. I mean, I don't use a lot of social media. That's it. So you have got whatever ways of contacting me, or just discussing for the project in Discord. I guess that would be it. Now I'm gonna stop blabbering about everything related to chamber and start building the project. So I've been talking since quite some time now, and I'm kind of feeling tired. I will take a small break, and I will continue coding right after, maybe, or maybe later on. I don't know. I'm gonna stop this video here. Thank you if you listened to this patiently. Thank you so much. If you did not, hope you will watch the other videos. Anyways, thank you. Bye bye.